Thank you for registering. Thank you for joining in, and welcome officially to this program. Um, just a moment, we'll share a slide and we'll start. Use the chat box. Just let me know if you can see the slide. I need feedback, and then we'll get off officially and start talking. It's going to be a super interactive session. Right now, I'm not seeing your face. I'm only seeing the chat box. So if you can talk to me via the chat box, I'll appreciate that. All right, I've confirmed from one person. We have more people in the room. Let me know. Great. So it's official. You can see the slide. Thank you. So today we'll be talking about becoming a data analyst without coding skills, and that is why you're here today. Oftentimes you want to do analysis, you enjoy the talk, the vibes, and the hype about data analysis. And true, it's worth the hype because it's a lot. You see part of it this evening. But because you think, okay, must I have some coding skills? Must I do Python and these other programming language before I can do this? And they say no. Even me, I started data analysis without any programming skills, zero. And I did it for years and it was giving me results. And that's why I'm here to help for anyone who wants to start in this journey of becoming a data analyst without coding skills. And again, first things first, I'll tell you about me and I'll be so happy to read about you too via the chat box. So after I tell you about me, please use the chat box to tell me about you. I'm going to spend some time going through the chat box to see who I have in the room today. So if Naya, Stella Maris, and I'm formerly Chimoba, and I'm commonly called Dr. STM. So probably wherever you've seen this, you may have seen something or a name Dr. STM. And I'm a medical doctor, I'm a PMP certified project manager, and I'm of course also a data analyst. I'm currently doing my master's in health informatics. So it's more for me a way of merging my interest in tech into health industry. And I'm the founder of my company, Novarus Care. I'm also interested in some charity projects. For example, I currently have a mentoring program, Life Beyond School, where I'm mentoring young girls on things they ought to know beyond school, after school, and those things are not taught in class. Then I also volunteer with Heal for Africa initiative, where I help out with things related to girls and youths in the society. And I'm a big fan of numbers. No wonder I found myself in analysis. Also a big fan of sports and a big fan of creative arts. As you're looking at me here, I have a gold medal in volleyball and football. So I play football, though it's been long, I played football and I enjoy watching football. And this is what I look like. So I'll be happy to read about you in the chat box. Tell me your name. Let me know where you're joining in from. Tell me what you do, and I'll be happy to read. So I'm looking at the chat box now. Who do I have in the room? Let's interact. I'm waiting to see your own details. I can't wait to read. I want to read. I want to see who I have in the room before we start the real brainstorming here. Let's just let out. I mean, today is Tuesday, so we've had a lot of brain work already. So let's have some light moment before we go back into brain work. Who am I with in the room? I'm looking at the chat box. Who about the cat? Who is the first person to let me know who he or she is? Okay, I'll assume you're still typing. So yeah, I'll give you that time. If I start expecting more, now that you know about me, at least I have about 18 people in the room now while I'm still expecting more. Who do I have in the room? Hey, who is going to be the first person to introduce? This is interesting. Who is going to be the first person to introduce him or herself? Oh, finally. Great. Good evening, Henry. He's a student of FUTO currently studying mechanical engineering. You're welcome, and I'm so excited to have you here. It's my pleasure having you here. Obiageli Madu, a lecturer in the Department of Nursing, UNEC. Oh, my pleasure. Welcome. Oh, it's beginning to rain. Mecca Mecca, I'm sorry if I baptize your name this evening. So sorry. Mecca from Azita is a marine engineer. Awesome. I have a lot of people here. Dr. Kingsley, currently working in Enugu. Thank you. Thank you for joining in. Chi, the field engineer, oil and gas servicing company in Port Harcourt. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. I'm doing this for a reason, and when it gets to that reason, you will know. So you see, we've had many people from different sectors, oil and gas. Okay, oil and gas. We have people from marine engineering, health industry. Okay, it's raining in now. Nkema Kolam Ezinne, popularly known as Dr. Z, a medical doctor by profession, joining in from Abakaliki. Welcome. Hi, Doc. Hi. My name is Odu Joshua Agada, a graduate of statistics and an aspiring data analyst. Presently, I work with Access Bank. My pleasure. I'm happy to have you. Gideon, by name, a clinical research associate and also MPH student, OAU. You're welcome. This is for you too. Good evening, everyone. Esther Tosin Balogun, a data analyst in training and a graduate of Maths and Stats. Great, welcome. Dr. Anozie Nneka, Kohut doctor, currently working in FETA. You all are welcome to this session. It's really a very huge pleasure reading this. I enjoyed going through this list, seeing who I'm talking with this night. Doctors, engineers, nurses, and oil and gas people in oil and gas sector and the rest. You're all welcome. Samuel is a medical student at BU. I don't know where it's BU, but you're welcome. Please, if your audio seems to have a problem, you can check if your network has an issue just to be sure. Mohammed is a statistician, a data analyst at sorry, I can't see. At Amijalam Statistical Software Technology. Aminu Jalam Statistical Software Technology. You're welcome to the chat, to the webinar this evening, and it's going to be an exciting session. Thank you for registering. Thank you for coming in, and let's start the game. Yet it's a game for us because we are going to be doing a lot of talk. So I generated some objectives about what we'll be doing this evening. First is to know and understand the place and power of data and data analysis, and to orient and equip anyone interested in the data career pathway with their pre-launch information. And then to guide you on the basic path of generating information from data and making decisions from them. So when I'm done with whatever I'm doing this evening, you will let me know if I achieved these objectives or if I did not achieve them. You have the power to call the result this time around. And we'll be using this outline here to have our discussion this evening. First, we would have the understanding of data and data management. So we'll have to talk between data and information. And then what exactly is data analysis, and I'll let you into data management. And then we'll talk about the data analyst and the scientist. So they require skills and knowledge, the tools where you can apply your skills, and then application of data analysis in real life situations. And we also talk about basic flow of data handling. So we'll talk about types of data, then process from data to getting it to information, and then dissemination and decision making, and we'll conclude. So we'll start with data versus information. And I would like to ask again, what do you understand as data? What do you understand as information? Oh, some people are still joining into the room. Hannah Okebe, chatting from Enugu State, a medical doctor and aspiring family physician. You're welcome. Oyeda Mole, public health student at Kwara State University. Thank you for joining. You're welcome too. So let me know in the chat section, what do you understand as data? What do you understand as information from your own point of view? What's the difference between the two, or what do you understand? Because oftentimes people tend to interchange these things as if they are the same, but that's where the start comes from. They are not the same in real sense, practically, especially for those of us in this field, they are not the same. So let me know what you understand as data and information before I unload what I know between the two. I want to read again. So I'm looking at the chat box now to see what you're typing. Is anyone coming up? Or you want me to just feed you? Now, I won't spoon feed you. I want to see what you have in your brain already, and then we'll have a talk on that. Already, I have some analysts in the room. I have some statisticians in the room. So I'm expecting wonders. I have doctors in the room. I have engineers in the room. I have a lot of people in the room. So I'm expecting wonders this evening. I'm expecting to be bamboozled, really. So what is data? What is information? Any difference between the two? What do you understand as data? What do you understand as information? Let's brainstorm and see what you know between these two, and then we'll pick it from there. Is anybody coming up? Okay, right. So data is raw facts, while the information is processed data, right? That's a great perception from Mohammed. Mohammed says that is the raw fact, and then information is the data you've processed. All right. So do we have any other person coming up with any view, any point of view, probably similar to his or a counter view? Okay, Hannah says data differs from information in that it may make no meaning, unlike information that makes meaning as it's already processed. Oh, great. That's more detailed one. That's fine. I'd wait to see if there's any other view before I move on with what I have here. Any other one? All right, data has no specific meaning and information has a logical meaning. Okay, that's Dr. Z talking. And then Esther said, in her understanding, data are facts collected together about a particular entity, while information is bringing out meaning, facts from the data collected. And Nafisa said, data is collected for reference and analysis, while information is like detail. All right, time to open up my own book. Let's see. You all got it quite right. You have a knowledge, you have an understanding of what data and information is. So data is pieces, unstructured, unorganized, unrefined, raw, independent, meaningless. It's just there. Bam, 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 you just get it. Nothing. You can't say this is exactly this. You just know, okay, 156 cm. So what about 156 cm? What is he talking about? Or you're talking about 7 p.m. and what about that? So that is data. But when you compare it to information, information is holistic, is structured and organized. Compare with this one that is in pieces, compare it with that one, and you see where the difference is beginning to come in. And information is processed and manipulated, and information has meaning, but it is dependent on data. So see it like you're looking at these are pieces of puzzle on their own. Everyone just doing nothing, floating on the sea. But by the time you process it, it makes some sense. You see, we've collected those puzzles pieces, and by the time we're not adding this one, oh, is this what you're wanting to talk about? So that is what is the major difference between data and information. If you're going through the two of them to understand what they are. So given with that, you begin to ask, what exactly is data analysis? And I mean, this is not like a classroom lecture where people are giving a very structured definition. My own is for you to understand it. It's not just about disseminating a structured definition. So data analysis is the collection of all activities that you perform while deriving information from data. So that process from making out information, from taking data all the way to information, that is data analysis ongoing. So you have the process of inspecting the data, cleaning the data, modeling, manipulating it, remodeling, and the statistical analysis and the rest. All of those activities are what entails in data analysis. So there is something called data management. I always try to bring this in because to most people, what they all know is just about analysis, at most predictions. But before this analysis and prediction, something happens all the way before. And even after the analysis and predictions, many things also happen after it. And that's why I felt that you should know this, because a staunch data analyst should know what had happened before his or her analysis, because sometimes it determines the quality of the data you're working with, or the interpretation or whatever, the context of the data you're working with. So it gives you a contextual idea of what you are working with and what you want to get. So let's have a holistic look now. You now see what entails in management. So it starts with planning on how to get data. Which data do you want? What do you want this data for? Where are you going to get this data? How are you going to get it? So when you've done all this planning, you now go and collect it. If you're looking, for example, those in academics and you're doing research, this planning usually happens at the methodology stage where you're saying, I want to do this. I am going to use a questionnaire. These are the people I am going to apply this questionnaire on. This is where I'm going to get them. This is when I'm going to do this. And this is this is everything that entails in planning. Because we know that if there are you're collecting the same information, the same data, right? But the planning of person A is different from person B. There is a possibility that they will differ. The whatever data you collect and the final information at the end of the whole day will differ. So if there is a particular information you're honing at getting, it starts from the stage of the planning. So you, the analyst, should know what happened. And then at the point of collection, what happened? That is another point. So looking at it one by one, you've already seen what happened in planning, where you're looking through everything happening. And then you go to the point of collection. Where are you getting this data from? Is it a data that is already existing, or is it a data you're getting on your own? Who is getting the data? When are you? So that happens in collection. And then as you're collecting it, where are you storing it? Who has access to the data? And what level of access does that person has? For example, some people can have access to view. Some may not even have access to view. Some can have access to view and edit. So these are the things that happens. Assuming someone has access to view and edit, and that person goes in and change everything that has been stored, it can make or mar the data sets. So having all these things in mind will help your next stage, which is the analysis and the predictions that you've come to do. And that is one of the reasons from here. One of the reasons from all these things. So while you're doing your analysis and predictions, you have to bear in mind things that happened before this point. And beyond analysis and predictions, you have to present the information that you've gotten out from your analysis. And you have to present it and also think about the guide to decision making, because all these things are contextual. Think about the cultural influence, environmental influence. So assuming we get the same information about something in Nigeria, about that same thing in South Africa, that same thing in Spain, and that same thing in Australia, you have to think about other influences that can guide your decision making. How about policies? How about culture? How about environment? So these are the things that affect the guide to decision making. And the analysis is more valuable in an organization, in a team, when you can make inputs in all these things, that you're not just there to be crunching numbers, but you understand what happens before, during, and after the analysis. Now I can say, okay, we've done the first part of the outline. So we are looking at the remaining two, and we now go proper into the stage where we'll now talk about the required skills, the tools, and where you can apply your skills and the application of these things in real life. So about the required skills and knowledge for data analysis, you need curiosity. I'm always talking about this because curiosity helps you as a person to embrace your data and flesh out as much as you can from it, especially when you have a large data set and the questions are unlimited, kind of what is happening here. You're trying to find patterns, you're trying to find trends. Curiosity will help you. In fact, it will also help you from this stage of inspecting the data to see if there is any error or something not getting on together. And then you think of critical thinking. So you're not just there to do garbage in, garbage out. You're there to make it, okay, I'm getting myself to part of my interesting phrases to make it make sense. So when you're looking at the data set, in the situation that it's there for, assuming this data set is coming out from marketing, and you should be able to think, where is this thing coming from? What does it mean? Where and who. What will it mean if I do it this way? So you're not just there applying things. Let me use a medical situation, for example. So we have what we call hemoglobin level, where you're using it to check what most people call blood percentage. And when you are looking at this, all of a sudden, if you don't think critically, you may not be able to spot some errors. Why will somebody be having 75 gram per DL that is not compatible with life, or way out of normal? So it's all these things that will really help you as a data analyst to be more valuable. And you need to be meticulous. If you're not a careful person, if you're careless and does things lackadaisically, you're going to have issues with analysis. In fact, you can do an error that will cost you your effort of weeks and months, and you start afresh. So you have to be meticulous, and in most cases, document every phases you've gone through. And if you're working often with numerical kind of data, by the time we get into types of data, you understand what I mean. Having some understanding of basic mathematics will be an advantage. Now, we are not talking about differentiation and integration and all those matrices. No. Basic understanding as small as algebra, as small as knowing that units differ, that a particular entity may be collected in centimeter, while another thing, that same entity is collected from another place in meters. So that idea will let you know which are we converting to? Are we converting from centimeters to meters? Or are we converting from meters to centimeters? And if we are converting, this is critical thinking actually happening. If we are doing that, how do we do it? And this is you applying some of those basic knowledge. Then you need presentation skills. You need it to be able to present whatever information you've derived from your data. And domain knowledge is essential. And this is why we need various people from different industries, different departments, different units to have some understanding of data analysis. I will work better off in health industry because my background is medical background. When you give me a data set from oil and gas, I will struggle a bit with oil and gas data set because I don't understand some of the entities there. I don't understand some of the things and the representations there. But if you take that particular data set and give to somebody like Engineer Chidi, who is in oil and gas, he may be able to understand the entities and tell you, oh, this is something you should be looking at. When I said I talked about 75 gram per DL in hemoglobin. This is because I have some medical background and I can tell that this is way out of normal, literally incompatible with life. But someone outside that domain will see it as simply being at most an outlier, may not even see it as being an outlier, will just tell you the upper extent for some people. So these are the extent where domain knowledge comes in. Be the valuable person in your own niche. And then you talk about research skills. So this will help you keep abreast with latest knowledge within your industry. Probably there is a new way of doing things and a new way of interpreting a particular information. And sometimes you may even forget how to do what you knew how to do because maybe you've not done it in a while and it just escaped your memory temporarily. So having good research skill will actually help you to know what to search, how to search it, and how to filter the right information. And it's all necessary. And the last one, hard skills. If you have all these things and you don't have hard skill, now hard skill is the ability to do the analysis proper. At least using a software, you will see a data set and you can handle it and make out information from it. If you're curious and you have the domain knowledge and every other thing, but you don't have hard skill, what's the essence? You will be looking at data set will be looking at you. And that's why you still need some hard skills. And that brings us to the part about tools. Since we are talking about hard skills, and this is data analysis, what are the tools that can be used? And I'm always saying this, I admit it, I say that this is something we have to be plain about. There are multiple tools in the industry used for analyzing different kind of data. Different industries prefer some tools over others. Some organizations even prefer some tools over other tools. So you have Excel, you have SPSS, R, Python programming language, Power BI, Tableau, NVivo, SAS, Azure. So you have all these things and more. But I always tell people, have more than one. Start with the very minimum basic. No Excel, because most of your data set, especially if you're working in a virtual team, will come via Excel. And you can't, no matter the programming language you're using or whatever tool you're using, you will be, I don't want to use the word useless, but you won't be quite valuable if you don't have some basic knowledge of Excel. And then if we get to others, now tools for the beginner analyst, let's say, assuming this person is interested in academia or in research, you need these ones. See again the Excel coming in. And SPSS. SPSS is such a tool that is versatile in social science, is versatile in academia, is there in health industry, is there in business. And it's an old tool, old in the sense that it's been there for years. So it has had that experience of how data sets come in. And it's still easy for people who do not know how to code, because you need some coding skills to use R. But this one, zero coding skills, you can handle data from beginning to end and derive very quality information out from it. And then this is NVivo. I intentionally added it. Now, NVivo is used for qualitative type of data, which I will still explain furthermore in this presentation. So I added it because some people do some types of research which we call qualitative about text. So when I'll be explaining that type of data, you understand it more. Now let's assume this person wants to go into business. How about the tools to think of again? See Excel again, see SPSS again. And then business analysis plays a lot with visualizations. So you will need Tableau and Power BI at some extent. SPSS has good visualizations too, but I'm talking about business analysis. And at some point, you will need SQL to query, probably to query unstructured data. So you need these things, but you cannot work with Excel. And if you have a good knowledge of this, you can adapt into any other one. And this is for every other thing. So now you have to invest into learning your tools. You really have to put up to yourself what tool to learn. And SPSS, Excel is literally even on YouTube for you to catch up gradually this and that. And we have a bootcamp coming on for SPSS, because SPSS has been there. SPSS has been there in academics, education, health. Like I've been calling it where you and apply it in different places. And we have this bootcamp where we'll help you, even if you are zero, like you don't know any single thing about data analysis, we'll guide you towards understanding data analysis and then understanding how to do that analysis yourself, to press it up from data up to information. SPSS will help you without any single coding skill. And that is what I did. Like, this is what I did. I am still doing it, even though I've gained extra. I'm still doing it. So it's not like something that is theoretical. It is practical, and you will see it as we continue. So assuming you get these skills and you're asking where can you apply it? You see, I've been calling all these things since now. You can apply it in healthcare, education, NGOs, finance, tech, etc., different places. And having this knowledge, when imagine everybody just saying Python, 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 and you come in and say, I can do SPSS, there's something that comes with uniqueness. It makes you more unique because you are the master in this. So let's say for healthcare, you can work in pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, health insurance companies, and then education can be in universities, online learning platforms. NGOs, you can go with Oxfam, many of them, WHO, UNDP, the small firms. You can apply your data analysis skill because it is applicable across organizations. Let's have a look at some real life situations. Maybe that can help you. So think about manufacturing. So maybe in manufacturing, you can use it to predict when machines might break down and perform the maintenance before it happens, saving time and money in the long run, which is an advantage. Think about security. It's usually used in identifying patterns in crime data and where is it happening often. So you can allocate resources to areas that need it the most, reduce crime rates, and then improve public safety. Let's think about healthcare. So you can use it to identify trends and patterns in patient data, in community outcome, and then use it to improve patient outcomes and reduce healthcare costs. Think of marketing. You can use it to analyze customer behavior and preferences, and then tailor your marketing campaigns. The one that once that person see, they won't just overlook it, because this, they won't know that you've studied them, but this is what catches them. Think about giving a 3-year-old an ice cream. It's a trap. So marketing and data analysis helps you to see what works best for that kind of people. And then think about finance. So you can use it to even detect fraudulent activity and use it to manage risk across. These things happen every day, and you can be the person helping firms do all these analysis. So it is always around you. Now we've talked about understanding data and data management, and then the data analysts and scientists where they can perform. Let's go on and talk about basic flow of data handling. And we'll start with the types of data. Now, this is going to get a bit practical now. So get your pen and paper. I would like you to play real life on the examples I brought in here. So I decided to group the types of data based on 3 forms, and you will understand them when I explain. I had this one on based on origin, where it's called primary data or secondary data. So primary data is the data you collected yourself. You go into the field, be it a virtual kind of field or real physical field, and you collect the data. Let me use health situation, for example. You go into a market, maybe you want to measure the high blood pressure of women in markets. So you go in there, you take their age, you ask them their marital status, you ask them where they live, the distance, probably their distance from the market, and then you measure their blood pressure. Now that is primary data, because you collected it yourself. Then there is secondary data. So this data is already collected by someone else, who may be you, but at that index moment, it's not you that now collected it. It's been collected for a different purpose. So even if you are the one that collected it, you took it for a different purpose. And now, in this situation, you're using it is now for a new purpose that was not the original intent. So think about you going to NCDC's webpage and collecting data on COVID-19, for example, the number of recorded cases, number of deaths, and all those things. This was not you that collected the data. The data is already existing, but you went there and harvested it. Think about going to WHO. I am using health situations because I am biased to that background, but think about this according to your own industry. Think about the governing bodies that house some of these important data, where you go and you get all the data you need. Let's talk about Nigeria. You can even have the National Bureau of Statistics, and you go in there, you get data on unemployment rate, you get data on what's it called, inflation rate, and the rest. All these things are secondary data. And now, based on the source, now this is also from a different context. In context, it can be internal or external. So when we talk about source being internal or external, this is usually related to business analysis, or project management, something like that. So assuming I'll use an NGO, for example, and this NGO is here. When you collect data internally from your organization, that is internal data. But when you get it from outside the organization, that's external data. So external data might still be primary or secondary. Internal might still be primary or secondary, because maybe that data has been collected before and saved, but now you're using it for a different purpose. And the one that you importantly need to know as an analyst, based on form. So you need to know this one because it gives you the strength you need to know how to manage and manipulate given data for each one. So you have to start with qualitative and quantitative data. Now, qualitative data are data that come in texts, in words, while quantitative data come in form of numbers. Now, when I come and say, how do you feel about the flooding that happened in Nigeria last year? And the person starts pouring out how they feel, this, that, and starts, after saying everything that they feel, you record, and then you go home and start writing it. That one is qualitative data because everything came in text and words. There is no number there. It's when you now, maybe the way that one is analyzed is different. That end vivo I mentioned, this is where it's usually used. So qualitative data are text, words. They usually refer to things about perceptions, experiences, feelings. But when you come to quantitative data, you're counting in numbers. And we'll give example again. Now let's have a look. There are different types of quantitative data, but I'm trying to reduce this to the easiest minimum at a level before we now think of every other thing. So you have the continuous data and categorical data. And I'll explain further. So let's have a look at this. Continuous is naturally numerical. It can assume any feasible number or increase at equal intervals. Think about age. Another person 31, this other person 81, 90, 21, 10, and the rest. Think about weight, height, exam scores, salary, etc. Compared to categorical, categorical may be non-numerical by nature, but you can represent them with numbers. They represent groups or clusters. So now let's think about gender. In this situation, I will assume gender as males and females. So in a situation where you have cluster, this group is group of males and the other group of females. You can use number to represent. You say this group is group 1 and the other group is group 2. Think about educational level. So you're saying no education at all, highest education primary, highest education secondary, highest tertiary. And you can say, okay, no education at all, 0. You decided to represent anybody that has no education at all with 0. Those with highest education primary, you represent them with 1. So you can see that these are groups and clusters that you've gone ahead to represent with number. And that's why there are categories. So categorical, that's where it came from. So let's have a look at further example. This is age. Different numbers, different possibilities. This is what we call BMI, body mass index. So body mass index is an index that we use to check about, in layman's term, how fat is this person? So I'm acknowledging the fact that the audience I have here is not a pure medical audience. So how fat is this person? Is this person underweight, normal weight, overweight, obese? That's what BMI scores help us with, and they can assume any number. So you can see. Now let's think about categorical. So you can convert this continuous here into categories, and they will become categorical kind of data. So all you need to do is now to group them. Hey, from you to you, group 1, from here to here, group 2, something like that. So let's see how this one was converted. So we've said, okay, we have group 1 here, 18 to 30, another group 31 to 40, another group 41 and above. So you see this, the way this one was converted to this. And then we have to convert this one. We said we want to convert this one into categories. Less than 18.5 underweight. This group, normal weight. This other group, overweight, and the rest. So you can have situations where you can manipulate this data to go from continuous into categorical. So have a look again. There are situations where you will get multiple qualitative data like this. You see the way it is. And you decide, okay, I want to convert this thing somehow to now look like a quantitative data. Not that it is purely quantitative, but I just want to make it somehow. So you start what we call coding. Now, coding in this case is not that coding where you're doing programming. Coding in this case is giving codes. You are this, just like you're giving categories. So you're grouping these things into categories based on your defined situation. It's just like when you're using maps. So let's have a look at this. So I'm looking at different words here. Probably you've asked some group of people about somebody or a group, and they use different words. You say, in one word, describe this person. This one said incompetent. Another person said terrible, unsure, excellent, this, that, different terms, right? And you decide to say, okay, I'm going to group this. And you decided to now start coding them. And according to your code, you now define your code because you're seeing this incompetent, terrible, wicked to look the same. and you're seeing these ones to look the same. So you've decided to code them. Sometimes this is what happens in qualitative analysis under NVivo. So you now decide to convert them to categorical, and you say all those coded red are negative, all those coded yellow, neutral, and for those coded green, positive. And if you're negative, you are now number one. If you're neutral, you are now number two. So you've manipulated this data into categorical. So this one here is still the qualitative it is. But in this representation now, it is no longer the qualitative, original qualitative it was. It is now a categorical data. And assuming I don't have any previous knowledge of all the content of this, all I'll know is negative, neutral, that most people had negative perception about this person, while only few had this, and then some of them had positive. Whatever is the content of that negative, I don't know. But you've given me an overview. So all these things depends on where they are needed. Now let's move it further. Have a look at this. We've done from qualitative and quantitative, and we got continuous and categorical under quantitative. And from this categorical, I am now going further. I've already taken you into continuous and categorical. Where continuous, like that age, not into group, but categorical is where you have them into categories. Now, these categories can be binary or non-binary. Where these things start becoming important is when you now go further into doing proper statistical analysis. What you will use differs for different situations. So binary is when you have only two groups, two and only two, no other group. But non-binary is when you have more than two groups. So the time I said I am assuming gender to be just male and female, that is a binary situation because you're either male or female according to this definition. Or when you say you are either answering yes or no, you're either, maybe we've divided height and we say you're either tall or short. You're either saying you're either fair or dark or something like that. So these are binary situations. But you can have non-binary, like the educational data I talked about. So where you have more than one, you had no education at all, you had primary, you had secondary, you had tertiary. So it's more than two. And in this non-binary again, you have what we call ordinal and non-ordinal. So in this case, just observe what happens. In ordinal, there are grades. One grade is higher than the other grade. Another grade is higher than the other grade. The higher you go, something like that. But in ordinal, there are no grades. Now, let's go by education now. Someone who went and completed primary school is obviously higher than someone who did not have any education at all. While the person who completed secondary is obviously higher than that person who had primary. The person with tertiary obviously higher than primary and secondary. So you can see that there are grades. But when you come to non-ordinal, think about religion. You can say that Christianity is bigger than Islamic religion, or more than African traditional religion, or more than whichever. They are all categories on their own entities. So these are the non-ordinal group, and the other one is the ordinal group. At this point, I would like you to get back to me in the chat box if this is clear. If there is any confusion, if I'm making sense at all with my explanations, I'd like to see your comments so far. Just use the chat box. Let me know. Is it clear? Is it making sense at all? Are you there? Am I talking to myself? Oh, it's making a whole lot of sense. It's clear this far. Aha, more like it. I'm seeing the feedback now. All right. Okay. So get your pen and paper. Now that you've agreed that it's making sense and that it is clear, get your pen and paper because it's your turn to now show me true that it is clear. So have a look at this data set. I'm going to explain it. And sometimes, in some situations, data sets will come like spreadsheets, like tables this way. And you're seeing columns and rows. Columns are these from top to bottom. So vertical designations are the columns. They are fields indicating variables, saying this stands for this. Then rows usually indicate the cases, the situations, assuming you're talking about human beings. So this row indicates one human being, the other row, another human, the other row, another human, whereas the columns indicate the attributes about these people. So when you look at this first column, this is the attribute is sex. So this place indicates the sex of this first human. The next row, sex of this second human. The next row, sex of this third human, and so on. This other column is about the age, religion, up to this place. So this is an imaginary data set of 12 patients. And these people, we've asked them about their sex, their age, their religion, their state in Nigeria, their weight. We measured their weight and we documented, and then we checked their HIV status. Plus, meaning the person is HIV positive, minus, negative. And then we had a comment, we asked them about their comments about these drugs. Now, these drugs are drugs we give for HIV, for management of HIV. So see that way. I'm trying to maintain everything in layman's terms. So we asked the first person. The first person is a male who is 30 years old and is a Muslim that lives in Lagos, weighing 67.5 kilogram, and he's HIV positive, and he feels that these drugs are life-saving. While this person is HIV negative and said that he heard that those drugs mess up the body. So you can see different comments here. Now, based on my discussion so far, what kind of data is this column sex? What kind of data is age? So choose any column you want and let me know the type of data they are. You can say sex, so type of data. Age, based on what you're seeing on this table. Comments, so type of data. I want to read. I am waiting. Let's see how much you've grabbed. For each field, for each column, let me know what kind of data it is. I'm looking at the chat box. Sex is a categorical data, okay? Column age is quantitative data, okay? I would prefer if you qualify it more, because under the quantitative data, I still broke it down. So what kind of quantitative data is it? That will help you when you're analyzing data. And that's why I'm asking these questions, to see how much you've grabbed. So which other one? I'm looking out for others. Which other one? If you want me to go back to let me give you a peep just in case you've forgotten the details. So these are the details. Under qualitative, you have quantitative, under based on form, you have qualitative and quantitative. Then from quantitative, you have continuous and categorical. From categorical, you have binary and non-binary. And from non-binary, you have ordinal and non-ordinal. So I'm going to go back to the data set now. So you see what you're evaluating. Okay. Gideon said age is continuous data. Sex is categorical. Age is continuous, okay? It's beginning to come up again. Age is quantitative and continuous, right? Okay. States. Nobody wants to attempt states. How about weight? HIV status. Comments. At least we've done sex and age. Comment is qualitative, all right? Okay. Weight continuous, okay. I'm seeing the options. So it's remaining states and HIV status. Let's see, state and HIV status. So what are you grading it as? Okay, I'm waiting. Religion, non-binary, okay. Sex is binary. So I am so glad you're doing this, because it means you're becoming more tactical in qualifying these things, and you're really getting it. It's becoming clearer to you. It's becoming clearer to you. So let's pick it now. Sex is binary categorical because there are only two possibilities here, male and female, no other possibility, which is right. So if you wrote it, if you said categorical, you're right. If you said binary, you're right. Age, according to this, is continuous. There are no groups. They are just all numbers flowing there. Religion here is categorical. Even on its own nature, religion is categorical. States here is categorical. Weight is continuous. You can see just different possibilities. HIV status here is categorical, and not just any categorical, but binary, because you're either positive or negative. And then the comments here are qualitative. So well done, you're doing well. You've done very well so far. So now I want to get you through this thing. The process that goes from data to information, what you do somehow to arrive to information. So you have, like I said earlier, you have to collect the data, depending on how you're collecting the data. Then you have to sort it, you have to inspect it, you have to clean, you have to sort. And then when you're satisfied, you may need to do some coding and recoding here and there. And then you start with describing the data set you have. That is what we call the descriptive analysis. And you visualize. And in some situations, you go further to do what we call inferential analysis, where you're making inference based on what you have done so far. So you apply some statistical tests to make inference, to say confidently that this is probably causing this, or this could be the cause, or this is related to this, or more people in this group are doing more of something like this. So when, for example, you're doing a marketing data set analysis, you can say these people that are within this age group, especially the females, tend to prefer something like this over people like this. Think about teenagers preferring TikTok over every other platform. So if you want to get to teenagers, probably you have a product that will be very preferred for teenagers. Your most likely place is to find them at TikTok, because that is where they hang out and the rest. And from inferential, you can even go further to predictive. You remember when I talked about manufacturing companies making a prediction about when the machine might go down, and not waiting for it to go down before they take action, and then information. So in some contexts, information can go straight from descriptive. You get information, you don't need to do every other, because that context just wants to describe the data and move on. Another one is okay with visuals. They don't need further statistical tests. Another one would want you to do this, and the other one might want you to even consider serious predictive analysis here and there with some machine learning and data science behind. And then you can even get to information from this stage of coding and recoding, and you've gotten what you need. So this figure you're seeing here is the overall representation of what goes on down to the derivation of information from a data set. Now, coming back to our data set that we've agreed on what they are, let's try and see what cleaning and sorting, how it helps. One, you were busy looking at the types of data that you may not have observed some things in that data set. Now, have a look at these places I shared red. Is it possible for someone to be 223 in this lifetime? So this is obviously out of normal. And this is how you start, because it's by inspection. Probably you've done sorting and you spot out something that is way out of usual. And then you now observe that there is a missing data in this column. Initially, you may not have observed it. And then this is weight. True, this is a valid weight by looking at it. It doesn't look like an error until you check the age. How can a 27-year-old female be 6.59 kilograms? Is it possible? So this is where all these things come in. You have to know how to play around manipulation, inspection, cleaning, sorting to be able to do that. So probably you've now succeeded in spotting these things after the sorting and inspection, and you now decide to make some corrections. And when you made that correction, so it appeared that what happened here was that double two was entered. You now change it, it became 23. And then here, there was really a missing case that cannot be replaced. No one knows what was there. And for the weight, this was not 6.59, but 65.9. Now it looks like something great. And if you observe from here, we now have two new changes. So you have this group now. We have a new column that we've called age group. So you've now manipulated this to now say, this is where you're now giving the legend that wherever you see one under this column, that means that person is between 18 to 30 years. You now check, see 18 to 30 years, this one 29, 18 to 30, 27, 18 to 30, and the rest. So this form of it is now the continuous form, while the other form is the categorical form. And then you've decided to change religion now into numerical. So this is what happens when you call them quantitative, because you've now changed them into numerical, where one is Muslim, two Christianity, three ATR, African tradition religion. That's what we used in representing it here. And then we've not manipulated this one, but maybe when you manipulate it, you can say Lagos is one, Abuja two, Enugu three, something like that. And weight remains the way you still left it, probably because of the need you have. HIV remains the way you still left it. Now, observe that we've also manipulated these comments into positive and negative and indifferent comments. So the first person that felt okay that they are life-saving is a positive comment, whereas the person that says it messes up the body is negative. And this other one that said they are good, but they make me slim is just indifferent, or all those things. So you can see what happens in manipulation. So that maybe when you're now reporting, you can say, so number of people had negative perceptions, and amongst those people, more of them are of this gender or of the other gender, or more of them are positive or negative, or more of them are of so age group, something like that. And that's what actually happens in analysis. So it starts making sense. So you begin to think, why are these people having this perception compared to the others? This is analysis happening. And that is what just happened here. So now that you've completed the analysis and done all these things, what next? Do you just package everything in your computer, save it? No, you have to disseminate it and make decisions with it. There was a reason why that process, that energy, that time was spent in the first place. So you have to consider having good presentation skills. Tell me the truth. Have you been enjoying this slide so far? The way I made this slide, have you been enjoying it so far? I'm looking at chat box. If you've not been, feel free to say no if you've not been enjoying it, if you've not been enjoying the presentation. Now, one thing I can tell you that presentation does is it brings your audience in. It makes them also understand what you're talking about. So that is presentation for you. You have to up your presentation skills. So if you finish all your number crunching and you cannot communicate what you did, then something is still missing. That's why presentation skill is also essential. And then creativity. So all those ways that you have to, because your audience may not understand what you're saying. So you have to find a way. I'm seeing your comments. Thank you, everyone. I'm seeing them, and I'm happy. Thank you. So you have to find a way to make it interesting and consider confidentiality. There are things that are quite sensitive that you should make it remain sensitive. Now, let's use health industry, for example, in my domain mainly. Many data and data sets are highly guided by privacy laws. Now, imagine this place we were talking about, HIV positive and negative, we just leak it like that with names. I mean, it's crazy. What if it gets to a place it shouldn't get? Or all these whole stories about paternity and fraud, DNA tests and the rest. When it comes to authority and privacy and giving giving permission to divulge information. There are places where you should be mindful about confidentiality. So as a data analyst, part of the first things you get when you get a data set in organization, especially when they are sensitive and still containing sensitive information, is to do what we call anonymization or pseudo-anonymization. So this is like making the data in such a way that you can say that this person is this, that this case we are seeing, this number 3 is definitely this person. So you may remove something like the name, address, and all those things. Like the sample data set I gave you, you can't say that this person is this. You don't know who we are talking about. The person that is saying that the drugs, that she heard the drugs are messy, you don't know the person. But assuming there is a name and address there, the next news headline is certainly carrying that message, because you point, and that can land you, both you and your organization, in jail, because you've breached privacy law and confidentiality law. Then in decision making, you should also think about situations and context. You should really think about situation and context. Remember when I was talking about having the same information, but this is Nigeria, this is South Africa, this is Spain, and this is Australia. Different policies, different cultures, different environments, climate, and the rest. So all these things should be brought into game when you are making decisions from the outcomes of your analysis. And then you should also consider your stakeholders. So you've seen how all through my presentation, I try to break down my terminologies to layman. That is you being mindful of who your audience and stakeholders are in receiving this. Because if they don't get your message, your efforts will be wasted. They'll still gonna make decisions without facts. That's the truth. So, but when you get the message to their ear in a way they will understand, when they're making the decision, because they now understand what you told them, they will make decision based on those facts. And that is what happens. So far, so good. Do you think that we caught these objectives of knowing and understanding the place and power, orienting and equipping anyone interested, and then guiding you on basic path from data to information? Let me know if we achieve these objectives before we move on. I need your feedback again in the comment section, because it keeps me along. Do you think this is results time, because you're the one calling the results? Do you think we achieved this so far that you've been here? We've done this for about 1 hour now, handling all these things. Okay. Do you think we've achieved this? I'm looking very well, doctor. Thank you, Obiageli. Thank you. I'm looking at your feedback to see what you think about it, about our objectives achieved. Thank you, Ebuka. Objectives achieved. So at least, even if you've not taken anything home today, I'm sure you've taken home the types of data. I'm sure you've also understood that part where I talked about data management, starting from the planning down before the analysis, and the essence of making presentations about what you got. And presentations could be verbal presentations. It can still be written, how you presented it, the graphs, the charts, the visuals you decided to use. And now that brings me to the bootcamp I mentioned earlier about SPSS, you being able to do this analysis yourself. So I have a bootcamp where I'm extending everything I've done today into the proper pieces, taking it hand on hand, like from the minute that you didn't even know you needed to know, down to becoming the expert that gets a data set, is confident about the data set and handles it. And just in case you're wondering what it's about, this is what you will gain. So you also gain practical teaching with real data set demos, real one. So I'll get you real data set. It's no longer this mannequin that I brought here, because this one is mannequin and we were playing around it. Now you're going to perform your surgery on real data set, and then I'll coach you along post-learning coaching sessions, and then we'll have supervised data analysis project for your own portfolio. So you hold it to your chest that I did this project, you will do it yourself. I will give you that data set and you go and analyze it yourself. I will help you supervise it, and you can put it in your resume, in your CV, as your portfolio of a project you've done before. And one of the common questions you'll be asked in a data analysis interview for those looking for job is, walk me through the process of data analysis, the things you walked through doing this analysis project, or the challenges you encountered. And you can only have such answers if you have real practical situations. And then I will also give you verifiable certificates. Now, why I said verifiable is because certificate fraud is becoming a thing where people just make up any certificate anywhere and present as theirs. But in your case, it's different. We are going to give you a certificate that any firm anywhere around the world can click in with the credential ID and see who gave you this training, where and when, and what you received, the details of what you were taught, which I'll still share here. So it's verifiable, and you can always download it anywhere, anytime that you are. And then you also have a learning network of like minds, like me, like people in here in the room, and job readiness. So we'll groom you to be ready, like when we talked about the portfolio that you have. And then we'll groom and mentor on required skills to succeed as an analyst. You remember when we were talking about those skills of being meticulous or being curious? We'll groom you on what to look out for, all those curiosity things, what you should be looking out for, and how to catch them. Like when I showed you that data set. Initially, when you were looking for the types of data, you weren't sure about that. In fact, you weren't even looking out for possible errors in there. So we'll groom you on how to look out for those things and how to decide which is a case and which is not. And then, if you're wondering who will gain from these, students in any field, business, social sciences, healthcare, STEM, you will gain from this. Academicians and researchers, I even started my example with you people when I started talking about planning and methodology. When you finish collecting your data, it's a flex to analyze your data yourself because you know what you want and only you can even do it better. And then you have professionals looking to transition to data-driven career. This is your opportunity. You won't have to start learning coding to start. You've seen how I even broke this down. How more about the bootcamp? And then those seeking to improve their skills who are already here. So you remember when I asked you, I need to know my audience. It's because of this. I need to know people I have. So you're looking to improve your skills, you're welcome. And then entrepreneurs and business owners, come and learn how to make factual decisions. This is an opportunity. Now have a look. I just had to get this in. This is a job description, and I covered some sensitive statements. Look at this number 4. Demonstrable understanding of the use of data towards research, including experience of statistical software. Have a look. SPSS. You see it? So these are things that will always come up live. Now, if you're wondering, just to be sure, because I know many of you are seeing me and hearing me for the first time today. You've never seen me and you've never met me. So I will only tell you based on the experience I've had with others, what they have to say. Now look at this person. This person is a master's student. And when we were done with his session, teaching him and helping him handle everything, have a look at his score. Essay 70%, presentation 70. So he went in there, not only did he score high, he also presented well. Have a look at another person here. Essay, dissertation 70, presentation 65. And then have a look at this one. This is the big one, 91%. And these are real people. And when I launched a course on it, this is a doctor in Lasut. He said he needed SPSS for his research work. He did it himself and desired to analyze his data himself. But that time he had no idea until he came across my course for beginners. That was the basic one. And he said I made it so interesting and practical. At the same excitement, he immediately enrolled for the intermediate course and could still relate. And he would recommend my course then for anybody who has no idea. I can bet that even those of you who have no idea about data analysis today got what they wanted, at least for today, and then brush up on their knowledge of SPSS for those who want to. So you can see it here. Have a look at another person. Said it was an absolute joy to work with me on her data from start to end. I was able to make the complex data, distill it into clear, concise insights, because that is it. That is why you have to be there as the analyst, not just crunching numbers, but your clients understanding what you did for them. I brought it down, helped them uncover trends and patterns, and then drew meaningful results and conclusion from that dissertation. And then I brought to the game details and analytical skills that were truly remarkable. I mean, if I start reading this whole thing, I'll bore you out. But these are real life comments. These are not made up comments. These are real life comments about my game into this. And that is what I want to offer you. So if you're thinking, okay, what are we going to learn? Start now. You will learn about the SPSS windows, the files, the extensions, and how to set it up as your own, and how to get in data and get out data out of SPSS, because that's one of the challenges people have. And then you learn how to manipulate data. You remember when we converted that age from pure continuous data into categorical data, you learn how to do all those things. All these terms I added here, sorting, filtering, splitting, they all mean different things and are used in different situations. So you learn it. It will be your skill, like your flex. You can do it easily. And you begin to see prelim and analysis, where you start doing frequencies and proportions and measure central tendencies and generate visualizations. So for some people, they may not know any other thing in data analysis, but once they get to visual, they can now start understanding what you put out. I'll teach you how to get it from SPSS. And beyond this, we'll get into the second part. You remember when I talked about making inferences, saying confidently that this is probably related to this or something like that. So you start with, for those into research, hypothesis, will understand what hypothesis is, and then choosing the right statistical test. Oh, this is the bane of many people. They don't know when to use chi-square, when to use t-test, MANOVA, this, that. They just know they're supposed to do something, but what is that thing I'm supposed to do? I am here for that, to help you. And then to know parametric and non-parametric distribution, what they are. And then we'll now demonstrate various statistical tests. There are so many of them and more. That is what you're gaining in that 1 week. And if you want to know more, it's not just the 1 week. So after that 1 week, the 1 week starts 1st to 7th May. It's going to be an intensive learning. Just like we did this evening, we start learning, picking everything one by one. And then after the first week, you will go on your own to do your personal projects, the one that you own as your own and put in your portfolio as something you've done. Then we'll have the coaching session. So we have 2 coaching packages. We have the group and the personal. Those that will book for group coaching sessions will meet on 15th, on 22nd, and on 29th May. But for personal coaching session, is flexible according to your time. We'll choose time that will be beneficial for the 2 of us, and I'll guide you one-on-one. And this one is limited. I can't take everybody there. So it's first come, first serve. Once it's filled, I will close it up, the personal coaching session. And the rest will go into group coaching, except if the person would want something else. But this is limited. And then we'll have an ongoing mentoring support after that. Of course, you'll get your certificate. Now you might be asking, I know you've been asking, what will it cost? What will it cost? So it is here already. The group will cost you 60,000 to be in the group, while the personal coaching will cost you 100,000. But hold on, there is still something good for you, at least for being here this evening. So it is my gift to you for coming around this evening. If you register within the next 48 hours, we still have some discount for you of 15%. That means instead of paying 60,000, you pay 51,000. And instead of paying 100,000, you pay 85,000, and it's ending 20th May. If you go in there 21st May, 21st May, even if it's 12:02 a.m., it will no longer be there. So you must have to do it before then. But for those of you here, I decided to do a special package, extra special package for you. It is the fastest finger, and it is closing tonight. After tonight is no longer existing. The only one that will exist for a short while will be this one. And after 20th, all opportunities gone, which is the fastest finger. So I added extra 10% discount, making it 25%. So what was 60 will now be 45,000 if you pay this night. And what was 100 will now be 75,000 if you pay this night. So take your time to pay this night. It's fastest finger discount, and it's for your own good. Cut it as early as possible. If you don't do it before this midnight, it will switch to this form 51,000 and 85,000, and after 20th May it's going to original cost. So I recommend you enjoy the discounts, the gift I'm giving you for joining here to learn this night. And to register, this is the link. I'll type it in the chat box now so that you grab it. I know you may have some questions. Give me the questions and I'll attend to them. Let me attend to your questions. This is the link to follow for your registration. The discount goes up after this night. The fastest finger is gone. If you have any issue, you can send us a mail at InnovaRosCare, or you can contact Pamela and she will guide you. But after this night, the 25% discount reduces to 15%, and after 20th May, it goes back to the original cost. If you have any question, I'll be here to guide you. But I'm really happy that you've gained superb value this night. I can probably say that, yes, if not for anything, you understand the types of data now, you understand data management now, and you can at least go around with that. That will give you an insight of what the main bootcamp would be like when it comes to seeing data and being the master of data. Again, this is the website. So if you have questions, ask me now and I'll be answering it. Sorry, this is 20th April. The 48 hours discount ends 20th April and not 20th May. It's ending 20th April. Grab this now. And the other one is ending tonight. This is 20th April. The session 1st to 7. And thanks a lot for joining in. If you have questions, I will be happy to attend to them. But it was really a great session having you here. Again, the link is on there on the chat section. Then if you have questions, I can be seeing it. If you have a problem, Pamela will be there to help you. And this is our email. We can also attend via email. But I really look forward to see you all there on 1st of May. Thank you for joining in. It's really a pleasure having you here. Now I can see the beautiful faces that joined in. I'm looking wholly at the question at the chat box to see if there is any question, and I'll attend to that. Otherwise, see you 1st May, where we'll take everything and make it a date.